Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. This is Dara with Lighthouse Prisms, and I want to talk about breaking free from the matrix from an angle that probably hasn't been talked about a lot. At least I've not heard it a lot, and it's a quality of breaking free from the matrix is dealing with truth, right? And so the matrix is really imperialism and colonialism, which has impacted this whole planet, right? The pillars of that are religion, government, capitalism, and racism. And the only way we can really affect change is through truth, right? Because without facing truth, when we try to make changes, we're kind of like a hamster on the wheel. We're moving, we're trying to make things happen, and we're not going anywhere. We end up right in the spot where we began, because we cannot affect change without truth. And this is a touchy one, because people get we've been taught in our society, especially since the racism here is mainly due to melanin, like it's like other places may have it, but it's less a visual thing. It's not like white and black, like for instance with Russia and Ukraine right now, right? They're effectively trying to steal their land and their culture and their people and their resources, and that is what really what the matrix does. Is it steals up everything: our energy, our resources, our land, our worth, our value, our senses, our judgment. But anyway, so I've got so many notes, and I'm like, I get nervous starting, and then my brain shuts down. So thank you for being patient and staying with me. So I don't know how many of you guys watched Avatar. I had this whole thing written out, and then I went to see Avatar, and then I didn't bring part of my notes with me. But the thing about the Avatar movie, like all three of them, is it is a really good visual for the Matrix, because you have you have the sky people who are mostly look like white Americans, right? And then you've got the blue people and their different tribes, the indigenous peoples of this other land, and you have the sky people coming and killing the blue people and stealing their resources and making billions of dollars off of it, killing their animals, destroying the land. And when you look at our history on this planet, and look at our history in our country, that's the same thing that's happened here, right? Is people from Europe decided that they wanted to expand and they wanted new resources. They were looking for gold, and they found another land. They killed off the people. They enslaved some, right? And then they brought more from other places, and then they built it up, and then they brought over some of the most unhappy people throughout Europe, right? Because those who were doing well didn't want to leave, right? Most of them anyway, because they were doing well. And so you had all the unhappy people come to the Americas to populate and to further take land and resources and labor and benefit off of what wasn't theirs. And so I know I have brought this up a few times, but I really believe that it is important at this time in history for us to face this, because the ground, the planet, Mother Gaia is crying out. There is a lot of bloodshed throughout the planet that is calling out for justice. And what's going on in our nation right now, and the amount of evil and wickedness coming from the government, coming from the higher echelon, those who control everything, is just overwhelming, to put it mildly. And so the land is crying out, and we are at a point where, if you look at things, it seems like there's a concerted effort to steal more resources by causing a World War III. And I'm not like being hyperbolic, and I'm not trying to scare anybody, because I believe that we as people who are connected with spirit can impact those things. And we have amazing power to make change. And I know that in the spiritual community as well, like there's a really big emphasis on not dealing with things that are uncomfortable, not dealing with race and religion and politics, and yet none of us are free of those things, right? None of us are free from those things, unless you're in a community that everybody looks like you, and you make a lot of money. Then you can kind of skirt that, but most everybody else deals with this in different ways every day. So one of the things about the Avatar movie, I mean, I was really overwhelmed, actually, last movie as well, last year when I went to see the second one. And I think probably the same with the first one. But the first one, it was just so different, that it took a while to feel it. But I was so overwhelmed by the needless death. I was so overwhelmed by the lack of value for life. And for people, in our same matrix, for people who see something and see the value in something and decide that because they have learned how to make killing machines with metal, that they can take whatever they want from anyone that they want to, and that it's theirs because they say it's theirs, and it's theirs. And because they say it's theirs, they're going to go and take it, and they're going to steal it, and they're going to kill for it, and they're going to claim it as theirs, and they're going to boast how amazing and how awesome they are because they got away with it, And as, oh my gosh, I just forgot his name. Oh my gosh, what's his name? Steve Bannon said one time, the last term, that history is written by the winners. And that tells you that a lot of history is not true then, if it's just written from the perspective of the winners, of what the winners want you to know, right? Because winners aren't going to out themselves about how destructive that their tactics were, or tell you the full story. And we have seen that throughout our society, how so much history has been not told and not spoken of. And so how does this, I'm still on on the topic of the Matrix, because we're all impacted by this. And in the movie, you had all these just all this death, right? But you had the indigenous peoples. Oh my gosh, that kid slid out of the basketball court all the way across the Pine Needles. It was epic. But anyway, so you finally had all the peoples of this planet unifying together to fight the force that was killing their mother planet and killing their co-inhabitants, their animals. I guess this intelligent species, they were very intelligent, and you had them get together to fight. And And as a result, they were able to enact change. And it's interesting because, you had the sergeant, you had the dad who crossed over, and then you had the sergeant who was effectively one of the blue people as well. And they kept telling him, like, you open your eyes, like, experience, like, it's more, you are greater than this. Like, you used to only experience this from one perspective, from the perspective of that small-minded imperialism coming here to take everything, but now you're greater than that. Open your eyes. And he would not. He was totally unwilling. He decided he was, attracted enough to involve himself in with a woman of that culture, but not enough to really love that culture and care for it. He had his mission, and and eventually he made a choice, that he could open himself up and join the people or not to. And you probably know which choice he made. But I believe, as enlightened beings, as people who are desiring to unify with the Creator, with the great ones, with whatever you believe in, we are here to affect change and to enact change. We are here as vessels to help transform this world and this timeline and this realm. And that it is not okay for us to go through life with blind eyes. And and it's a tough one because everybody feels great as long as they don't talk about like controversial stuff, right? But the controversial stuff is really a part of who we are, and and the thing about being non-melanated is that I think things have gotten so bad in our society because it is easy to not say anything. It is easy to be quiet and to let those who are louder, who are more outspoken, and who are brazen, to just spread their opinion and spread their vitriol. And you may not agree, but you don't have to say anything, because it's always safer to not say anything. But when you don't say anything, it is assumed by others that you also agree. And we're at a point in history where everyone's really got to choose a side. Everyone's got to choose what they're going to do for the planet, what they're going to do for our world, and how they're going to do it. And again, that doesn't mean that you need to go out and do crazy things, right? But there is a power that comes from having a stance, that comes from having an opinion, that comes from having conviction behind your opinion. And you don't need to go out and just be willy-nilly and crazy. I'm not saying anything like that. But when we make choices and have a stance and have a perspective, then we are able to impact our environment through our energy. So I wrote a poem. And I'm gonna read it, but I feel like part of me is like, am I making the point of how this is part of the matrix? And probably, maybe I'm not stating on how to break free from it, but the biggest point, I think, is acknowledging truth. And a major power in the matrix is built on racism and the impact of our society and the wealth that came from it, and the governmental systems that were built upon it and to keep it, and the suppression of people that still go on. And it's not just people of color. It gets to a point where the impact becomes unbearable for all people who are not in the ruling parties. And I believe that that is where we're going. And it also comes to a point where there is so much spilled over into the land that eventually the land cries out and there will be a reckoning. And we can avert that. And so here's the poem that I wrote in thinking about this. It says, our beautiful soil, black, brown, and red, rich in nutrients, and it covers our dead. Blood is bubbling up from the ground, calling for justice of days near and far gone. Bubbling from deep rise bones of long forgotten ones, loved by many and by few, those who were overworked and never paid. Forgotten children stolen from the womb, kicked off their land for the benefit of walking bones without a soul, claiming everything as their own. Their karma calls to them, blowing in the wind. It remembers their names. Though they try to pray, it falls only to tainted ground and poisoned water. Blood is bubbling up. The ground is burning and calling. Victory is ours, but will it be yours? So we need all hands in. I know I had a had a comment here written down, and you know, like in the movie, the Fire Clan was acting out. You know, they had, the leader was hurt by the lack of contact with Mother Planet, and so she was acting out, right? And she was going against her own. And there are always those who will go against their own. And I think of like Candace and Steve's wife and Vance's wife, and many others. There are people who act out against their own people because they are not happy with themselves. And we live in a society where not everyone, but where it is taught, the closer to non-melanated you are, people believe the better off they will be. And so they turn on their own people out of insecurity, out of self-preservation, out of self-hatred. But there's been a lot that's been done, and the ground will cry out. And we are here to affect change. We are here to transform the world. And we are here to redistribute even the wealth. You know, you are here, you are learning to claim your birthright, to claim the wealth and the riches that were yours from being born, and to pursue equity throughout the land. You know, there's not a problem with people being wealthy. Like, everybody should be able to be wealthy because there's enough wealth. But it's not okay for a few people to have everything, and most of the stuff that they have because they've not paid their fair share for it. And I think it's just so important that we as individuals face this, see this, acknowledge this, and take a stance on this, you know? And we are all one. we are all one people when it comes down to it. And we cannot thrive when there is oppression anywhere. And the best way to stop oppression is to open our minds and our hearts and to take a stance on oppression of others. And know that we are all responsible for the change in the world. So I'm just going to draw, I think, maybe 2 cards and then another card for encouragement. Thank you for being with me. I know sometimes I have such deep stuff that comes out, and then trying to really talk about it in a concise way sometimes seems a little bit challenging. Okay, so we've got a few cards that just flipped over. We've got 6 of Cups, right, which is celebration. We've got 4 of Cups. You know, which sometimes the 4 of Cups is you've got typically 3 cups that have been used up and you have 1 cup left. And they talk about how sometimes we're focused on the wrong thing and we don't see the cup that we still have. But in this 4 of Cups, she's actually focused on the tree of life. She's sitting towards the tree of life with the 3 of Cups behind her, and the cup is up high as if it's being given to her from the divine, and she's focused looking towards that direction. And so she's used up her cups, but there is another cup of love, of abundance, of prosperity, of opportunity that is before her, given to her from on high, and she is focused on that. And that's kind of the heart of this message is yeah, like, we use stuff up and there's a lot behind us, but we can impact the future, you know, like there's a lot still for us. And then the 6 of Cups is the celebration, the generosity, the overflow, you know, and look at them. They're just out in the woods having fun. And it looks like there's a spirit person watching over them back there, which is really cool. So the divine is watching over, you know. And then we've got the Queen of Pentacles. Oops. Turned it upside down. We've got the Queen of Pentacles and the 10 of Pentacles. And this is when we, you can't become a queen or king without dealing with reality, right? Without seeing things, without making choices, hard choices. And the divine desires for us all to step into our authority and into our power, you know, and for all of us, like I was talking about, there's enough for all of us to be wealthy, to be kings and queens of abundance and prosperity in our own lives, and to enact that so that everyone else has those same opportunities, and that we are not squandering resources just for few people. Let me see. I think I'm going to pull one from the Cosmic Oracles. Oops. It says, never forget how resilient you are. You will always bounce back. And then another one that flipped over says, do something kind for someone without any expectation. And those talk about just the power of our actions, right? The power of our beliefs and our actions. And so I hope this made sense for you. I hope this gave you food for thought more than anything. And for you to see that a lot of times the things that we don't talk about and the things that we don't face still have a major impact in our lives, and that our spiritual journey is not just, we cannot isolate spirituality from the rest of our lives. Like, everything is impacted by our spirituality, and our spirituality impacts everything else. And when we are truly enlightened and truly one in our pursuit with the divine, we will desire for that to impact the rest of the world. And I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about, control of what other people believe, that if I believe this, people need to believe this. If I call God this or the divine this, or, everybody needs to have the same religion, everybody needs to have the same thoughts, everybody needs to be the same. No, that's not what we're saying. What we're talking about is that everybody was created different, and everybody should get to live their life differently, as long as their beliefs and their actions are not hurting other people and infringing upon other people. That there should be a wonderful diversity throughout the land, throughout the world. And just the same as in nature, there are thousands of kinds of trees. There are, like, I don't know, probably 100 different kind of pine trees, or more. And that's just one specific type of tree. So diversity is a good thing in any way, and we all benefit from it. And we were created to be diverse. The cosmos, the universe, it was created diversely, and our differences, your differences, are beautiful, and they make this world rich and amazing, and lovely and interesting and vibrant. And even when you think about, like, different foods that you like, like, it's so amazing to have different foods from different places and different cultures, right? And so we've got to, ooh, baby just fell off the monkey bars. But we've got to get to a point where we don't put our insecurities off on other people, that we don't dominate other people because we feel insecure about ourselves, that in seeking confidence and betterment, that we are confident in ourselves, that we face our insecurities and our shortcomings and the weird things about ourselves, and that we're able to love ourselves in that way, because we were created perfectly. And we know that when we are comfortable with us being created perfectly, we know that other people were created perfectly, and that no one's strengths or weaknesses detract anything from us. And when we are able to live in that confidence and that peace, we are able to build everybody up and make this world a better place for everyone. So my hope is that through this message, we see that our enlightenment is not just about spirituality. It is, but spirituality encompasses everything. And in order for us to free ourselves from the matrix and the power of it, and to truly, truly change this world and have an impact on steering the ship away from self-destruction that we are headed towards, we got to talk about things, about the uncomfortable things. We have to look at things. We have to evaluate things in our heart. We have to take a stance, and just live up to the greatest person that we desire to be, and make that person proud daily. And so I thank you guys for this time. I truly believe wholeheartedly that there is enough on this planet for everybody to be happy, to be wealthy, to be abundant, to be generous and kind. And the more that we allow our light to impact people, not just in our houses and in private, when we are meditating drawing near, but in the way we live our lives, living lives of impact, that the world will become such a better place. And I have this guy who's about to lean on my car while I'm doing this. This is so funny. So I just have to say this. When I pulled up here, because I have company at the house, so I didn't want to do this at the house today. But when I pulled up here, I was the only person here. I pulled over here because nobody was here. Nobody was here. I mean, yeah, there were people at the playground, but nobody was parking in this area. It's not even a real parking area. So then I parked here, and I was here like 5 minutes, and another car came, and then another car came, and then another car came. And I tell you what, this happens to me everywhere I go. Everywhere I go. Everywhere I go. If I try to park somewhere to be by myself, it is guaranteed that 10 other people are going to park in that whole area. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. But anyway, Happy New Year. I love you guys with all my heart. Thank you for your time. Drop a comment, hit the like button, and have a wonderful year. This is going to be an amazing, amazing year. I know 24, 25 were really hard, and but 26 is going to be fire. You know, it is the fire horse, which means there's going to be a lot of movement, a lot of power, a lot of possibilities. And let's make this one freaking amazing year where we enact some like radical change in the world. So again, much love to you. We got people backing up. And the alarms are saying, yeah, let's make this happen. But anyway, much love to you. Thank you.